I know because I stood at the funeral home while they closed the casket. I know because I identified what was left of her after the explosion. I know because I watched them lower my daughter into the frozen ground at Beechwood Cemetery in Ottawa on a February morning, so cold the honor guard's breath hung in the air like ghosts. My daughter, Lieutenant Sarah Chen, died in Kandahar Province, Afghanistan, on March 15th, 2007. She was 23 years old, a combat medic with the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. The blast from an IED killed her instantly, they told me. Or at least, that's what I believed for 19 years. Until last month. Until I received a package with no return address, postmarked from Vancouver. Inside were her dog tags. The ones I'd been told were destroyed in the blast. And a handwritten note on lined paper, the kind you'd find in any dollar store. Dad, I'm alive. I'm in Canada. I can't tell you where yet. I can't tell you why. But I need you to know I'm coming home. Please don't tell anyone. Not yet. I'll explain everything soon. I love you. Always have. Always will. You're Sarah. My hands shook so badly I dropped the note. It fluttered to the kitchen floor of my house in Kingston, landing face up beside my feet. I stared at it like it was a hallucination, like my grief had finally broken my mind after all these years. But the dog tags were real, cold metal in my palm. Chen, Sarel, Oppose. Canadian Forces. I'd buried someone at Beechwood. I'd scattered flowers on a grave for 19 years. I'd mourned. I'd raged. I'd eventually found something resembling peace. And now this. My wife, Margaret, had passed 3 years after Sarah. Cancer. Some losses are too big, too final, and she just couldn't carry the weight anymore. I understood. There were days I didn't want to carry it either. I kept Sarah's room exactly as she left it, her medical textbooks still on the shelf, her Leafs jersey hanging on the back of the door, the acceptance letter from the University of Toronto's medical school, the one she'd deferred to serve her country first. She'd wanted to be a doctor, a real one, she'd said, not just a field medic. I read the note 17 times that first night, looked for anything that might prove it was a hoax. Some sick person playing with a grieving father's heart, but the handwriting matched. I pulled out old birthday cards, letters she'd sent from basic training in Gagetown. The loops, the way she crossed her T's, the slight backward slant. It was hers. 3 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered on the first ring. Dad? The voice was older, rougher, but unmistakable. Sarah. Static on the line, then crying. Not the kind of crying you do at sad movies, the kind that comes from somewhere so deep you didn't know it existed. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry. I wanted to come back. I tried. God, I tried so many times. Where are you? I can't say yet. Not on the phone. But I'm safe. I'm in BC. Can you meet me? Somewhere private. I need to see you, but I need you to come alone. Nobody can know yet. Not until I talk to the right people. The right people? Sarah. What happened? They told me you died. We buried you. I know you did. But that wasn't me in that grave, Dad. I don't know who it was. They told me everyone thought I was dead. They said it was safer that way. Who said? Who told you that? More static. A long pause. I'll explain everything when I see you. There's a place. A cabin near Revelstoke. I'll text you the coordinates. Can you come, please? I'll leave tonight. Thank you. And Dad? I know you have no reason to trust this. I know it sounds insane, but look at my left shoulder. When you see me, you'll know it's really me. The birthmark. A port wine stained the shape of Lake Superior. She'd always been self-conscious about it. She ended the call. I sat in my kitchen for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. Then I packed a bag. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't call my sister, didn't message Sarah's old friends. I just got in my truck and started driving west. Kingston to Revelstoke is roughly 4,000 kilometers. 50 hours of driving if you don't stop. I did it in 3 days, sleeping in rest stops, living on coffee and adrenaline, and something I hadn't felt in 19 years. Hope. The coordinates led me to a narrow logging road 30 kilometers outside Revelstoke. The cabin was small. Old wood, green metal roof, surrounded by Douglas fir and western red cedar. Smoke rose from the chimney. Mid-November in the Rockies, and snow already covered the ground. I parked and sat in the truck for 5 minutes, hands on the wheel, heart hammering. What if it wasn't her? What if this was some elaborate con? What if I walked through that door and found a stranger who just wanted money, or attention, or to torture a man who'd already lost everything? But what if it was her? I got out, walked to the door. It opened before I could knock, and there she was. Older. Lines around her eyes I'd never seen. Hair shorter, streaked with gray at the temples. Thinner than I remembered. But her eyes, those were Sarah's eyes. Dark brown, almost black. Her mother's eyes. Hi, Dad. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. She stepped forward and I grabbed her, pulled her into a hug so tight I thought I might break her. She was solid, real, warm. She smelled like wood smoke and soap, and something else I couldn't place. We stood like that for a long time. When I finally pulled back, I was crying. So was she. Show me, I said. She nodded, stepped back, pulled down the collar of her sweater. There it was, the birthmark. Lake Superior on her left shoulder. It's you. It's really you. It's me. We went inside. The cabin was sparse. A wood stove, a small table, 2 chairs, a cot in the corner. She made tea, herbal something. We sat across from each other, and for a moment we just looked. How are you alive? I finally asked. She took a deep breath, let it out slowly. The explosion was real. The IED was real. But I wasn't in the vehicle. I'd gotten out 2 minutes before to check on a civilian who'd flagged us down. A woman with a sick child. It was a setup. I realized too late. When I turned to warn the others, the blast went off. It threw me maybe 15 meters. I hit my head. Everything went black. Then what? I woke up in a room. Concrete. No windows. My head was killing me. I had no idea where I was. No idea how long I'd been unconscious. Could have been hours. Could have been days. There were 3 of them. Taliban fighters. They'd pulled me from the rubble. They knew I was a medic. They needed a medic. My blood went cold. They kept you. For 4 years, Dad. 4 years in different compounds. Different caves. Different hellholes across the border in Pakistan. They had fighters who were injured, sick. They made me treat them. If I refused, they'd hurt the civilians they kept prisoner. Women, children. I couldn't let them die. So I did what they wanted. I felt sick. Why didn't they ransom you? Why didn't anyone know you were alive? They tried at first. But by the time they contacted anyone, Canada had already declared me Kia. They'd already had a funeral. Already buried someone. The Taliban realized I was worth more to them alive and hidden than as a bargaining chip. And honestly, I think our government didn't want to admit they'd made a mistake. That they'd buried the wrong person. The person in your grave. Who was it? Sarah's hands trembled around her mug. I don't know. Another soldier, maybe. Someone whose body was too damaged to identify. Someone whose family deserved to bury their daughter or son, but didn't get to. I think about them all the time. About their family. Visiting a grave with the wrong name on it. How did you escape? I didn't. Not at first. After 4 years, they moved me to a compound near Peshawar. One of the guards there was different. Younger. He'd bring me extra food sometimes. Medicine when I was sick. His name was Rashid. He told me he'd become a fighter because he had no choice. His village was destroyed. His family was dead. But he didn't believe in what they were doing anymore. She paused, sipped her tea. One night, he left my door unlocked. Gave me civilian clothes. Money. Told me there was a British consulate in Islamabad. Said if I could get there, I could get home. I didn't trust him. Thought it was a test. But I had to try. You made it to Islamabad? Took me 6 days. I walked, hitched rides, slept in ditches. I was terrified every second. But I made it. Got to the consulate. They didn't believe me at first. Thought I was crazy. But I had details. Things only someone who'd served would know. They contacted Canadian intelligence. And? Her jaw tightened. And they told me I was dead. Officially dead. That bringing me back would raise too many questions. Who was in my grave? Why didn't we know you were alive? How did our intelligence fail so badly? They said it would embarrass the military, the government. They offered me a deal. What kind of deal? A new identity. A stipend. Relocation to a Commonwealth country. They'd set me up in New Zealand, Australia, anywhere but Canada. They'd give me a life. But I could never contact my family. Never tell anyone who I really was. They said it was for my safety. for your safety. They said if the Taliban knew I'd escaped and talked, they might come after you. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the snow-covered trees. And you took it? I didn't have a choice, Dad. They made it very clear. Take the deal, or they'd send me back. Said I'd be a security risk. That I'd seen too much, knew too much. I was terrified, broken. I'd been a prisoner for 4 years. I just wanted it to be over. Where did they send you? New Zealand, Wellington. They gave me a new name, new papers, got me a job at a hospital as a medical assistant. I couldn't practice as a doctor, obviously, because I didn't have the credentials under my new name. But it was something. It was close to what I loved. That was 15 years ago. Why now? Why contact me now? She turned to face me. Because I couldn't take it anymore. Because I've spent 15 years living a lie. I have friends there, people who care about me. But they don't know me. Not really. I can't tell them where I'm from. I can't tell them about Mom, about you, about who I was before. And last year, I found out you were alone. I have a friend who's good with computers. She helped me look you up. Found out Mom had passed. Found out you were living by yourself in that house. And her voice broke. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't let you think I was dead. I couldn't let you spend the rest of your life mourning someone who's alive. So I came back. Flew to Vancouver 3 months ago. I've been trying to figure out how to do this, how to tell you, how to make it right. Does anyone know you're here? Not yet. But I've been in contact with a journalist, someone who specializes in military cover-ups, and a lawyer who handles cases against the government. I'm going to go public. I'm going to tell my story. Force them to acknowledge what they did. To me, to you, to whoever's in that grave. They'll come after you. I know, but I don't care anymore. I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of being afraid. And I'm tired of lying. I turned from the window, looked at my daughter, this woman who'd survived things I couldn't imagine, who'd been stolen from me twice, once by war, once by cowardice. What do you need from me? I need you to back me up, to confirm I'm your daughter. I need you to stand with me when I do this, and I need you to forgive me for staying away so long. I crossed the room, took her hands in mine. There's nothing to forgive. You survived. That's all that matters. And I'll stand with you. Whatever you need, wherever this goes, I'm with you. She collapsed into me, sobbed like a child, and I held her the way I used to when she was small and scared of thunderstorms. We spent the next 2 weeks at that cabin, talking, catching up on 19 years. She told me about New Zealand, about the ocean, the mountains, the life she'd built that wasn't really hers. I told her about Kingston, about how I'd kept her room the same, about the Remembrance Day ceremonies I'd attended every year, standing at her grave, wondering if she'd felt any pain when she died. She cried at that, said she was sorry. I told her to stop apologizing. On November 28th, we drove back to Kingston together. Stopped first at Beechwood Cemetery in Ottawa. Stood in front of her gravestone. Linan Saray Lin, Shen. Itinjo by Bashase, Dalant Henlingsi. Beloved daughter, devoted servant of Canada. Forever, in our hearts. Someone's in there, Sarah said quietly. Someone's family thinks they're somewhere else. We'll find out who, I said. We'll make this right. 2 days later, Sarah held a press conference in Ottawa. I stood beside her. So did her lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Okonkwo, and the journalist, a man named James Thornton, who'd broken stories about military misconduct before. Sarah told her story. All of it. The capture. The years in captivity. The escape. The government's deal. The 15 years of forced silence. The room exploded. Questions shouted from every direction. Cameras flashing. Reporters pushing forward. The Department of National Defense denied everything at first. Called her a fraud. Demanded DNA evidence. We provided it. Matched to samples from my medical records. From Margaret's. Irrefutable. 3 weeks later, they admitted the mistake. Said there had been a misidentification in 2007. That in the chaos of the explosion, they'd made errors. They didn't admit to the forced silence. Didn't admit to the cover-up. But they acknowledged Sarah was alive. The public outcry was massive. Protests in Ottawa. Demands for resignations. Calls for a full investigation. In January, they exhumed the body from Sarah's grave. DNA testing revealed it was Private Jennifer Fournier, a logistics officer from Montreal, who'd been declared missing in action on the same day Sarah was supposedly killed. Her family had spent 19 years wondering where she was. The reunion between the Fourniers and their daughter's remains was private, but I sent them a letter, told them I was sorry, that if I'd known, I would have fought to bring Jennifer home sooner. They wrote back, said they didn't blame me, said they were just grateful to finally have closure. By March, the investigation was in full swing. Parliamentary committees, military tribunals, journalists digging into how many other cases like Sarah's might exist, how many other families might be visiting the wrong graves. Sarah and I moved back into the house in Kingston together. She started seeing a therapist, started working through 19 years of trauma, started, slowly, building a life that was actually hers. She reconnected with old friends, people who'd thought she was dead. The reunions were beautiful and heartbreaking. Some cried. Some didn't believe it at first. One of her old army buddies, a woman named Claire, drove 16 hours from Halifax just to see her. They held each other and didn't speak for 5 minutes. In May, Sarah enrolled in a program to have her medical credentials recognized. Started working toward the dream she'd put on hold 2 decades ago. She wanted to be a doctor. A real one, she said, just like she'd always planned. We planted flowers on Jennifer Fournier's new grave in Montreal. White lilies. Sarah said they represented peace. I hoped Jennifer had found some. I think about the future now in ways I hadn't for years. I think about Sarah becoming a doctor, about her helping people, saving lives. I think about the possibility that she might find love, might have a family of her own someday, things I'd thought were lost forever. I think about Margaret, about how proud she'd be, how much she'd want to see Sarah now. Sometimes I talk to her picture on the mantel, tell her our daughter came home. I think she knows. I think she'd understand. On Remembrance Day, November 11th, 2026, Sarah and I stood at the National War Memorial in Ottawa. She wore her uniform, the one they'd given back to her, the one that had been stored in a military archive for 19 years. When they called for a moment of silence, I looked at my daughter, alive, home, fighting for truth. And I thought about all the lessons we'd learned, about how governments fail, about how bureaucracy values image over truth, about how easy it is for people to become statistics, to be forgotten, to be buried under lies. But I also thought about hope, about resilience, about a young woman who survived 4 years of captivity and 15 years of silence, and still found the courage to come home, to tell her truth, to fight for what was right. I thought about the importance of never giving up, of questioning authority when something doesn't feel right, of demanding accountability from those in power, of fighting for the people we love, even when the odds seem impossible. Because sometimes miracles happen, sometimes people come back from the dead, sometimes justice finds a way, and sometimes, after 19 years of darkness, you get to stand beside your daughter in the sunshine and remember what it feels like to be whole. Sarah looked at me, smiled, took my hand. "I'm home, Dad," she whispered. "I know," I said. "Welcome back." The trumpet played the last post. The sound echoed across Parliament Hill. And for the first time in 19 years, I didn't cry at a Remembrance Day ceremony. I smiled instead, because my daughter was alive, and we were finally, truly, home.